Welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. And as we start off tonight, I just want to give a notice that this is being recorded so people can watch online later. If you are watching online later, welcome to you too. I'm so glad you're watching. I'm so glad you all are here. I love that you all are interested in this Young Professionals Leadership course. This makes me so happy. And some of you I have met, some of you I have not met. I am just so excited either way. And presumably you are here because you've come across my work before, or you've heard about this via social media, or one of our speakers who shared it on social media. By way of introduction, since some of you I know more than others, again, my name is Aubrey Bergauer, and a lot of people know me from my work at the California Symphony. I was executive director there for 5 years. And at that organization, we really defied the trends of this industry, doubled our audience, nearly quadrupled our donor base. And before that, though, by way of introduction, I spent about a decade in Seattle, there at the leading institutions at Seattle Symphony, Seattle Opera, at the Symphony in Development, the Opera in Marketing, and then at the Bumbershoot Music and Arts Festival as the #2 over all of those revenue streams. It was almost 2 years ago now that I left the California Symphony and left to have a greater impact on the industry. I said I wanted to have an impact beyond one organization. And during that time, these last almost 2 years now, I launched the Center for Innovative Leadership at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music and recently signed my 50th consulting client, which has just given me what I sought out to get, just this incredible view of the landscape of the field of performing arts and arts administration right now. So I've learned a lot along the way is where all of this is going. And I believe the field of classical music and arts and culture more broadly can do better. Not just that we should do better, but that we absolutely can, and we can achieve that. So for anybody who has that kind of growth mindset and knows that we need specific leadership skills, specific leadership tools to manage change, be that force for good, right? Anybody who believes that, that is what this course is about. So that's a lot about me. As we're getting going, I want to hear about you. So please don't be shy in the chat. Drop a line, your name, where you're watching from if you'd like, if you want to share what organization you're with, if you're a student, if you're an employee, whatever level you want to share, we would love to hear it. And as you're doing that, I want to introduce two people helping me tonight and with the whole entire course. So that is Alana Richardson at the Tucson Symphony and Paula Wilson, who just graduated from Indiana and is like working at like 5 different organizations this summer. Just kidding, soon enough, Nashville Symphony. So Paula and Alana, wave, say hi so everybody can see you. And just know that they are helping us in the chat tonight. So again, please drop a line, say where you're watching from, any questions you have along the way. They're going to be accumulating those questions and facilitating the Q&A at the end. All right, so the format for this session tonight, the overview here, I'm going to talk about how and why this course came about, the course format, so you know what to expect. I'll then get into the curriculum topics and guest speakers. So excited to share these guests with you. And then I'm going to cover what I promised to cover tonight, which is 3 leadership tools to be successful now. So sort of a taste of what the course is going to offer. We're going to cover that towards the end. I'll hit what you need to know to register, and then we'll move into the Q&A portion. So again, have those questions ready. You can drop them in the chat. This is great. I see a couple of you starting to chat now, so that's good. This might go longer than 30 minutes. I got a lot to cover. I want to make sure to answer your questions. So just know if we do go longer than 30 minutes, I'm here to make sure we get your questions answered. That's my commitment. So let's dive in. How and why this course came about. So I remember when it was announced that the Center for Innovative Leadership was going to be happening at the San Francisco Conservatory, it was like the floodgates opened with the type of enthusiasm and response that came about that. And so I knew this was something I believed in, this type of leadership training, but what that showed me was that the field at large also believes that this type of training is needed. So what happened is pandemic, I'll save the whole story, but the Center for Innovative Leadership, I launched some things virtually last summer. It's now on hold until in-person events can resume. Despite that, there is a void in professional development training this summer, in my opinion. So there are other courses in the field that are also on hold, other professional development offerings that typically do take place in the summer. Those are on hold as well. So I started a few months ago really thinking, no, we need training now. We need leaders now in this critical, pivotal moment for our industry and for our world. So that really got my gears turning. And basically, I don't believe in waiting to do something I care about. That is a theme for probably the whole course that I think a lot of you are probably like-minded in that way, just get it done type people. So here we are, all of that. I said, we need leaders now, and we absolutely can be leaders now, no matter who we are, no matter what our roles are. So that's why and how this sort of evolved. So to hit the course overview and format, the course is designed over 8 weeks. It's sort of modeled after like a college style course, 8 weeks, 2 nights a week, this exact same time that we're meeting now if you're watching live. So that's a total of 16 sessions, Mondays and Thursdays. So to drill down into that a little bit, Mondays are mostly me talking a lot like this. I'll have a slide deck to really hit the topics and the research and the points to share. Lots of case studies, things like that. So that'll be primarily Monday night, a lot of sharing information, pushing content out. Then that'll be followed with the video recording released the next day for anybody who's participating asynchronously, as well as the homework assignment, which is optional. I just want to be fair to say, even though I say this is modeled after sort of a college style course, nobody's turning it in. I'm not grading it. Homework is truly optional for anybody if you want to take a step further, if you want to continue your learning. So totally up to you if you have the bandwidth for it. Homework will take the form of either a worksheet with some sort of questions to help you think through the material, think about applying them to yourself and your life and your work. Sometimes it'll be a reading assignment, sometimes it'll be a video to watch, so that type of thing. And then Thursday, the second evening each week, will be when I bring in a guest speaker. And those guests will either be brought in to take the topic deeper because they have deep subject matter expertise, or they will be bringing in their also deep expertise, but on a tangentially related topic. So deep or wide, broad, deep, however we want to go, sort of varies by speaker, but that's the format. And then Thursday is where we also have time baked into the hour for group discussion, way more interaction to really capitalize on these connections and networks that everybody's building. So that's the overview. Like I said, all sessions are offered live, recorded to be viewed later. And the curriculum, now to get into that, the curriculum itself is really about leadership. So this is not a course about role-specific skills. So anybody who wanted something to be a better marketer, a better fundraiser, negotiate artist contracts, whatever, that's not what this is. The League of American Orchestras offers courses that help with that. Opera America offers courses that help with that. So this is not meant to in any way compete with what's already offered, but to add additionally something that I see a lack of in the field. So this is intentionally not about specific role development. This, again, is about making an impact now, setting yourself apart in the marketplace. This is about knowing your purpose. You can use elevated language when you talk about yourself, about managing up, bringing stakeholders along with you. Again, all of these skills that are so needed for leadership at any role, no matter your level of seniority. So to get into it more specifically, this whole syllabus is online. It's on the course registration page, but if you haven't seen it, it'll go like this. Week 1, we start talking about defining leadership. It's actually very challenging to define leadership, but there are different sources and takes on that I'll share. And then we get right into company culture. All organizations have a culture, and it's just a question of what is that culture and what is our role in participating in that culture, and how can we set that culture even if we're not the person at the top. So that has been a huge soapbox issue of mine. So we're hitting it right out of the gate. On Thursday, we are talking about decolonizing power, and I'm so excited to bring in Tanisha Nash Laird for that. She is the CEO of Newark Symphony Hall, And she puts it this way, that decolonizing power, a huge topic, so relevant right now. She really flips it and says it's about empowerment. So she has so many great stories and things to say on that. So Tanisha's coming in to talk about that, and we'll have a discussion around that as well. By week 2, we start getting into core values, and it's not just words on a wall. We all know it's actions that matter. So we'll talk about how those things match up. How do behaviors support core values for an organization? We then get into managing up, managing laterally. How do we get buy-in for our ideas? How do we navigate frustration? I gotta say, so many early career professionals who reach out to me, and not early career professionals, to be honest, are dealing with navigating frustration in their workplaces, in their careers. So we're gonna talk about it because we don't often talk about it in the field. When to quit and when not to, there's research on that. So we're gonna talk about that too. And then that flows right into week 3, where we really start getting into knowing your purpose, knowing your why. These are things that I used to think were very fluffy, and have learned that no, this is about what drives us as human beings, and to be able to articulate that really matters. So that starts getting into applications, interviewing. How do we set ourselves apart in the job market and in these candidate pools? I am bringing in for that Catherine Martin, who this is what she does. She is a coach. She talks about life transitions, organization transitions. She is also the CEO of the Santa Barbara Symphony. So just really an excellent resource on taking this from fluffy to applicable to our lives. Getting into week 4, we're gonna talk about, instead of best practices from the candidate side and how do we stand out in applicant pools and the hiring process, what needs to happen on the employer side. Now, this is also a huge soapbox issue for me. Whether you're managing somebody now or not, someday you probably will be. So this is an area that when we talk about systems that need to change in our industry, painting with a very broad brush here, but the way we hire, generally speaking, is very inequitable, rife with discrimination, gatekeeping, racism. So we are going to drill into the research on how to do this well, because we are the people to make that change going forward, I believe. We're also in week 4 rather, going to talk about the search firm perspective. So whether you are being recruited now or not, you will be someday. And I have learned now, I think I've been recruited by almost probably all the major search firms at this point, and it's like a whole kind of a game in some ways. And so we are bringing in Emily Masters to talk about this. She works for Aspen Leadership Group. She has worked with Russell Reynolds and their recruiting team as well. And before that, at the Chicago Symphony for many years, including being director of the office of Riccardo Luzzi. So she has so much experience, specifically from the viewpoint of arts and culture, of classical music, and the recruitment side of that as well. Week 5, we start getting into negotiations. This is a skill we need no matter what, whether it is negotiating a job offer or negotiating a contract that we have with somebody just day to day, negotiating promotions, raises, even more informal negotiations that happen regularly in our lives, and then all the way up to collective bargaining agreement, the union negotiations that happen in these organizations. Lots to cover there. Again, so much research. And I confess, the way I was taught in professional development courses is not how I approach negotiation today. And so I will share the research, the best practices on how do we do this well. And joining me on Thursday of that week is Jessica Phillips. She is the chair of the Players Committee at the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. So if you've been following any of the news, or she's not chair now, she's the former chair, but if you've been following any of the news of the Met, it's been highly publicized, their union negotiations. Again, she's not the chair now. She was the chair in 2014, which was their last negotiation, as well as before that, which I think was 2010 probably. And I'll just say this, hands down, Jessica is the most collaborative Players Committee chair I've met. I haven't met them all, but I've met a decent amount. And she just really has this same growth mindset. How can the pie get bigger for all of us? And she's going to join us to talk about that experience. So awesome to have her. This is the 1 week, week 5, where we have 2 guests. I'm also bringing in Jennifer Rosenfeld to talk about our relationship with money. And this is yet another topic that we basically never talk about in this industry. And that goes from everything from employers need to pay living wages, and there's a whole bunch to talk about there that's not happening very well in our industry, all the way up through how do we compensate high performers? How do we change our relationship with money so that we feel less and sort of beholden to structures in place? So Jennifer is amazing at talking about this. She works with musicians a lot to really challenge their thinking about money, musicians at major symphony orchestras and opera companies. And more recently, she's gotten into the administrative side, bringing those same principles in. So we get together and hear what she has to say. And she's a Stanford grad, she's a smarty. All right, week 6, moving along, we get into visioning and messaging. Again, a skill that matters, being able to cast a vision, communicate a message, whether this is institutionally and very broadly, or among people in our team, because we have an idea that we need to get across and we need buy-in for that idea. So visioning and messaging, that flows right into developing teams. Again, whether you are the person hiring or maybe just somebody who's a part of a team, developing teams is a subject area where, again, research shows us that there are ways to do this to maximize our own performance and the performance of those around us. That flows into procedural justice. I won't get into it here, but we talk a lot about racial justice, social justice. Procedural justice is a topic that's covered much less, but it's very important in my mind. So we're going to hit that on week 6. And then joining us that week is Tamara Vallejos, who will help talk more about visioning and messaging, communications, and also politics within the organization. This is another category where I get a lot of people reaching out, just trying to navigate it. Red tape, bureaucracy, regardless of the size of the organization, how do we move our way through that? So Tamara and I go all the way back to Seattle Opera, and she's just lived a lot of that. She's worked at orchestras, festivals, opera companies, and a theater company in New York City. So she's really just got such a multidisciplinary perspective on all of this. All right, 2 more weeks, week 7, qualities of high-performing teams, qualities of high-performing leaders. Again, research-based case studies, really actionable things that make a difference. And for me, at least, the number one quality of a high-performing team is not any of the things I thought it was. It's not IQ. It's not where did they go to school. It's not their background. It's not years of experience. It's something else. So we will talk about it and really dissect what that looks like. And again, how do we, no matter our role, help shape that no matter where we are working. We'll conclude that week with making decisions. There's research on how to make better decisions, so we'll talk about that. And then using your influence for impact. So this is where we start to bring it all together. At the end of week 7, I am bringing in Andrea Tatum for that. And she's another one that just has such a wealth of information. She started her career in the arts, working at theaters in Nashville, and I think also Atlanta. More recently, she's been here in the Bay Area working at San Francisco Symphony. And then in the most recent years, she moved out of the arts into tech and now is at Catalyst. And she does all kinds of DEI work, and she is bringing all of that. She and I had to rein in her topics. There's so many different things she could cover. And she says, this is what I want to talk about, using your influence for impact in your scope now. So that's the end of week 7. To bring it home, week 8, we talk about presence, whether that's executive presence and exuding that confidence that we need to as leaders, or just sort of presence, being in the moment, being authentic, those sorts of topics. So the second half of that week is just me. The class closes out with all of us together, and we will do some exercises to really truly bring it all together. 8 weeks at that point, talk about planning your next steps and some exercises to really start mapping out what that could look like for you. So that's the fast and furious overview of the curriculum. Now let's move into what I promised, 3 leadership tools you need to be successful right now. I will say it is very hard to choose just 3, but these are 3 very important ones in my book. So number 1, to be successful, you need to be able to articulate your impact. I touched on this, of course, as I was going over the curriculum. Knowing your purpose, knowing what's driving you, and how to express that is what sets you apart from others, period, hands down. This was a huge mind shift for me personally. I used to think I had to blend. We're taught as musicians, right? We need to blend in, right? No, not good in your career. So, and it takes courage to do that, but everybody is unique, and finding those words and finding that language just elevates everything you do. That translates to your bio, that translates to your LinkedIn page, that translates to interview conversations you have everywhere. So, like I said, I used to think it was fluffy. I used to struggle with it. Once I got on board, it was a game changer. So, I think that is now the number one tool you need to be successful now. Two, bringing others along. It is a skill to get others to buy in to your idea. I struggled with this early on in my career. I didn't do it right. I'll say it that way. And I really struggled. And it's taken me time to learn how to do this way better. And the truth is, it's a skill that is needed for the rest of our lives, or the rest of our working lives for sure, because we are always trying to get people to buy into our ideas. Even as executive director of an organization or CEO, you're managing up to the board, you're trying to get them to buy into your ideas. As candidates, we're always interviewing, trying to get buy-in that way. So it just matters forever. So the sooner we start developing that muscle, the sooner we can start flexing that muscle. Third and final way, at least for tonight, the final way to our final tool for leadership now is developing others. So whereas the first two are definitely more sort of inward focused, developing others, obviously more outward focused. And another way to say that is that idea of empowering others, that idea of creating psychological safety. This matters. This matters if you ever plan to manage other people. This matters if you don't plan to ever manage other people, but want to be valued as a team member. Empowering your colleagues matters. So it helps with that company culture. It helps to your visibility and establishing your value both internally and externally. When you bring value, you are not only delivering on your purpose, going back to point one, in a way that's authentic to you, you're making an impact and you are gaining from that as well. So there we have it, the 3 leadership tools you need to be successful now. Hopefully you can tell from the course that all of that we will hit in much more detail, because all of this is why I made the course, why I made this program, and I'm just so excited to share it with you. I hope you can tell and see in my face and hear in my voice. So you will gain those tools, you will gain those skills, and many others that are so important. And like I keep saying, you will begin to make an impact now, wherever you are, whatever organization, whatever place in life, and you will rise to the top of the hiring pool when you look to make that next move, whenever that may be. So I do want to say though, this program is not for everyone. So I want to be honest, I want to be clear about that. If you are the type of person who thinks that you need to wait until you get a better title to be a leader, for example, this is not for you. If you are the type of person who wants role-specific tips, I mentioned this earlier, if you want to know how to market better or fundraise better or develop better education programs or program seasons better, no, this is not for you if that's what you're wanting. There are other tools in the field for that, other courses. I have a lot of other material that I offer on my blog and on my website for that. So that's not what this is. If that's what you're looking for, this is not for you. If you want to wag your finger at the industry, this is not for you. We have a lot of armchair quarterbacks in our field. And that is not what this is about. Even though we are talking about some of these harder topics like navigating frustration, managing up, knowing when to quit and when not, this is about actionable progress and how do we make positive change. So conversely, if you're the type of person who's raising your hand saying, I want to be part of the change we need, this could be for you. If you believe that you can lead from wherever you are, regardless of your role, whatever position you hold, you are ready for this. If you want to work through the frustration you have in your life now, let's be honest, all of us probably have some level of frustration, especially given the past year we've all been through, right? If you want to work through that frustration now, because you know those issues will be somewhere else. Those characters will be somewhere else. I definitely learned that along the way. Wow, that super annoying colleague, a version of that person is at that organization too. They're everywhere. It's going to be there. The challenges don't go away just because you move to another organization in our industry. So if you want to build those skills now, build those muscles now, work through that frustration now, so that you are prepared not to run, but to lead, this is definitely for you. And I'll say lastly, if you want to connect with better mentors, if you want to grow your network, if you want to have other strong leader peers in your network, people who think like you, who have this growth mindset, who believe that change in our field is possible and want to enact that change, this could be for you. So one more time, this program is designed for those who want to be an arts leader for change. That's what the tagline says, and grow your career, no matter your role, no matter your seniority. All of this, everything I've covered tonight, 8 weeks, 16 sessions, all of the different topics we've discussed, the access to the guest speakers, it's just under $1,000 for all of that. And this type of training in the arts is not available anywhere else, to my knowledge. I said this at the beginning. That's part of the reason why I created this. I've learned a lot over the years. There's a lot of things I wish I would have learned sooner, and a lot of things inspiring me now as I'm still learning as a leader. Putting that all together here and now doesn't exist anywhere else, again, that I know of. So like I said, this is not for everyone, but if you are hearing everything I'm saying tonight and thinking this resonates, this like material, the vibe feels right for you, you are welcome here. No gatekeeping, no application fee. I also have a pay what you can option. I wanted to make sure that price is not a barrier for participation to anybody, and I mean that. So it's an experiment. Paula said to me, Aubrey, you got to trust. You got to trust that people will pay what they can and truly mean that to their potential. So we're doing it. It's available for you if you need that option. And very quickly, there's 2 ways to register online. There's the registration button on the main course overview page. There's also the pay what you can link. They're different purchase paths, but they both ask the same questions. They both have the same follow-up communication. So end game is the same, whichever path you choose. So choose which one works for you. And I want to say tonight to all of you here, the first 10 people who register, I'm going to offer you a free one-on-one mentoring session with me. So if that's of interest, I would love to spend that time with you individually. So the first 10 people who register, I will follow up with you and make myself available for that. Before we move to Q&A, one more thing I want to share. I said this, but I was not always good at these things. And early on, I did not articulate my purpose well. I did not differentiate myself. I didn't know my full value. I had a lot of ideas, but I struggled to get buy-in. It really took finding my own way, and all the way to eventually realizing I can make an impact on this industry without the executive director title attached to that. So a lot of organizations are trying to recruit me now, and I have such clarity on what it's going to take for me to go back to leading an organization. I want that for you too. That's where I'm going with this. My vision for you is that you also have that level of clarity, that level of empowerment, and that ability to create positive change and momentum from wherever you are. So with that, Alana and Paula, what questions are you seeing? Are there questions in the chat I can answer? Let's do that. And then in a few minutes, I'll take us home.
Well, I just wanted to confirm real quick that everyone is able to use the chat. I know we had to update this setting. Are you all able to actually type in there? Awesome, head nods. Okay. So I don't have any questions just yet that I am seeing, but I will kick it off. One of the things that I'm really excited about is the guest speakers that you've selected. I know you went in briefly to how you chose the different people and what they're going to speak of. I know that one of the guest speakers, Catherine Martin, is actually the reason why I met you for the first time, Aubrey, when she was CEO at the Tucson Symphony and then brought you in as a consultant. So can you speak a little bit more to how you made those selections of who you were actually looking for in the speakers to add to this course?
Yeah, great question. These are all, there's a couple different criteria. All leaders who I respect and I admire, who have been helpful to me, who have taught me things, who are subject matter experts. I would say that's another criteria. Wow, the topics they're speaking on, they get fired up, y'all, and it's going to be good. So there's that. These are voices that the field does not hear enough of. So I tried really hard to not go to sort of the group that tends to be asked a lot, because I thought we have a lot of other perspectives that this industry needs. And when we're talking about change, let's do it. So all of that, varied backgrounds and different paths. Every time a guest speaker comes, part of their instruction from me is to share their journey and share their path. And the goal is to help everybody see that there is not one path to leadership. There is not one path to success, that our industry actually allows for a lot of different versions of that. And so all of those things combined are why I invited each of these speakers. And I will say every single one of them was my first choice. So my first choice for every topic, they all said yes, and that's who's going to be here.
I'll throw in another question. I'm wondering what sort of environment or community are you trying to foster with this course? Are you wanting a collaboration, networking sort of thing? What is like your goal for how this group will interact with one another?
Yeah, I love that. So yes to everything you said is the answer. I think anybody who's followed my work, I know a couple of you have worked with me briefly on projects before. I believe in inclusivity. I do believe in empowering others. I want that for this community that we form. And the idea is, even over Zoom, we can have community. And I think we've probably all seen examples over the last year of sometimes when that's not done so well, and sometimes when that has been done better. And the idea is that it doesn't just live on Zoom, but that these are relationships we get to take forward. Because something I didn't touch on tonight, networks matter. I think everybody here probably knows that, but I've come to learn how much they matter. And so really forming this, again, community, collaboration, safe space. We're talking about topics that are not always safe space, I would add to that mix. People who fit that. Wow, that matters. Those are people I want in my life going forward, that's for sure. So that is what I'm trying to build here.
All right. And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself or enter it in the chat. We can just open it up to discussion at this point.
Yeah, go for it. Totally. Sorry that the chat wasn't working earlier. That would be my fault. So sorry about that.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Aubrey. I would just want to ask, and I realize that this might be an apples and oranges type of question, perhaps, but with the comeback planning sprint that you also have available through your website, could you speak a little bit to maybe the amount of bleed over in, if there's such a thing, that there might be between these two options, and maybe as somebody who's maybe considering a little bit of both, or trying to do both, could you speak a little bit as to what some commonalities are, or not?
I love that question, and I swear I did not put him up to ask that. That's amazing. So I would say they're very different, to be honest. The comeback planning sprint is more about, as institutions, it's true, what do we do now? That part I would say is true between both. The comeback planning sprint is more about what were the trends in our audiences pre-pandemic? How do we get those audiences back? How do we come back from dark stages for a year plus? How do we integrate streaming in our work going forward? Those types of things, hybrid model. It's very institution focused, which individuals can still participate, but that's the idea of we're talking about how do we move our institutions forward? And if you've read my blog post on the flywheel model, it's all based on that. That's the comeback planning sprint. So yes, anybody who wants that, on sale now on my website. This course is made definitely for individuals. It's more about our role. What do we do? Not just in this moment we're in, even though I am very, again, execution oriented. How do we have impact now? Even though that through line is true, I would say it's more about, these are skills that will serve us forever. That's the idea. And the sooner we start implementing them, the better. So to me, that's the difference. These leadership traits, that's not in the comeback planning sprint.
Thank you.
I'll add on to that as well for what it's worth. I did participate in the comeback planning sprint, so I did actually take that whole course, and that was stuff I could report back to my senior leadership team and actually help work on organizational structure and changes. And so I do not feel like there's going to be any crossover here in terms of that I'm getting my money's worth for both different courses.
Thank you. That's the idea, is that, yeah, both of them bring value in very different ways. So, okay, last call. Any final questions? Anything goes. If you have anything on your mind, now's the time.
I have one more. Sorry, everybody.
Don't apologize. Go for it.
Might as well speak now. I happen to be somebody who, I don't know if I declare myself a young professional. I'm young at heart. I'm not necessarily, if you will, at the beginning of a career. I don't know what it is, the middle, the first quarter, the first third, I have no idea. Hopefully, you know, it will never stop. But would you say that for someone who's been doing the thing, and going back to what you were speaking about, frustrations and all of that, not getting into that right now, would you say that that there are sort of course corrections that can be made by attending this specific opportunity with you? You know?
Yeah, that's a very honest question. I appreciate that. I will say, and you all will notice if you go to the webpage and look through it, nowhere do I put an age restriction. Nowhere I say young professional, I say early career. I do not say emerging leader. I hate that term, truth be told. At what point have we emerged? Are we butterflies? No, we are people who are always growing and learning. Wow, I'm getting all fired up. Okay, so that is how I feel about that. People who are always growing, always learning. So, and you heard me tonight, the way I talked about, like, if this resonates with you, if this material, if these topics feel applicable to you, then this is for you. So, so I leave it like that. If it feels helpful, then I made it for you. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah, such an honest.
Great, thanks again.
I'm not seeing any more questions.
I see one from Elizabeth.
Oh, there we go.
Go for it, Elizabeth.
Hi. Sorry, I'm not at my desk.
No worries.
My question is, you raised some of the issues of questioning where the industry is going somehow, in terms of talking it with these industry professionals, as it were, in discussing the way we're course correcting the industry. Wondering if you could talk about what your angle is on that, not from a just frustrated with it perspective, which I think everybody is, but in terms of changing it aggressively.
Yeah, aggressively. I love it. Okay, actually, that is a great segue into my closing thoughts. So I'll get into that and close us out. So to me, a few things. One, change does not happen overnight, especially, you know, we talk about turning a big ship. Arts and culture is a $763 billion industry. This is a bigger industry than agriculture, than warehousing, than transportation. We don't often talk about our industry like that. That's a whole nother topic of power we can claim. The point I'm making is it is a big business. To turn that ship definitely doesn't happen overnight. But it happens by incremental change. It happens by more and more people saying we are doing it differently going forward than how we did it in the past. So to marry that with this moment that we are in right now, I believe that this moment right now is critical to our industry. We are coming out of a global pandemic, as we know. Other professional development programs are on hold right now, as I mentioned earlier. This course, as I said, is the only one that I know of that offers these research-based tools. This isn't just Aubrey's opinion. This is like what research shows, what case studies shows, what trends in other industries show, and how to create change and how to lead. I do not know of another place that kind of material exists in this type of in-depth presentation. So that's where, and that's why I get so excited about now. We can make impact now. We are coming, the silver lining of the pandemic. The last year has been awful. It's been tumultuous. It's been challenging. All these things that we have felt and lived, that is true. But a little silver lining of that, and to me, is that it has created disruption that, one, I think was needed. It really just jolted us as a whole, as a collective whole in this industry, to realize change is needed. More people realize change is needed now than they did 12 months ago. I believe that. I see that. I see that with the clients I work with. So that's, again, why this moment is so critical, why this training is so necessary. And I'm going to ask Alana and Paula, put that course link in the chat if you would, just so everybody can see it, because the idea is, you know, I talk about changing the narrative for this industry. That's been my whole shtick and brand for several years now. But you all, you're the ones to help make that change. We are, I'm really on the soapbox now going on this, but we are going to soon face a major exodus of leadership. This is true in all industries, not just arts and culture. Baby boomers, we know, are approaching retirement age more and more. That exodus is coming. It's already started. More broadly, in all kinds of roles and positions, there is a lot of turnover. Again, all industries, not just ours. In our industry specifically, you all have probably seen this too, as organizations are planning their comeback, more and more jobs are being posted. So again, this moment in time is so critical. And you all are the change this field needs. It's not me, it's not a singular person. It's more and more people, again, raising their hand saying, I want to be a part of this. I believe that change is possible and want to be a part of leading that and enacting that. So with that answer to that wonderful question, I just want to say this is a personal invitation from me for you all to join. I would really love to have you. One more time, thank you all for coming. Hopefully that link for the course is in the chat, if you can see that, just so you have it readily available. If you are watching this online later, I again appreciate you coming, appreciate you watching. And I guess just one more time, thank you all. Thank you all. Have a great evening. I really hope to see you there.